Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King, and I'm back with part 2 of What If Naruto Was a Prodigy with Super Intelligence. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all your friends on your social media platform, and also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the other channels if you're new. Yes, I indeed have 4 of them which I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. All the links will be down below in the description, so go ahead, check them out, and yeah, enjoy. And don't forget to turn on the bell notification and also the vote over an anime symbol. Go ahead and check that out. And if you want your what if to be done by me, just go ahead and comment over an anime symbol on the latest video and have a chance for it to be done by me, guys. So yeah, without further ado or wasting more time, what do you say we jump right into this brand new episode? Begin now, guys. So the last part we left off, we began in the red light district, where a young boy, his name was Kyohi, he was trying to get a job there. The matron at the brothel, who was opening a bar. Most people were too afraid to work in this area, but he did not mind in the slightest. So she offered him the job. He had green hair and red eyes, as he was able to become the one that handled a bar. Despite his age, he was good. Not to mention, he got along with the people there. However, the matron noticed something strange. Whenever the girls interacted with him, he was terrified. She asked, why would he work at a place like this, considering the large population of women around? He said that it was good money. So with that, he continued to serve. He was 13 years old right now, as he was doing his thing. That is when a man came inside. He was a samurai, with a katana strapped to his waist, a straw hat on his head, as he was just resting there. As Kyohi proceeded to serve the man, everyone ended up filing out of the bar, as it was getting late, but the man was still there. He had only ordered a cup of hot water. So with that, Kyohi was not really paying the man too much mind. However, something was wrong. The man started to talk to him like he knew him. The man then identified him as Naruto Uzumaki, the runaway child. The samurai tried to take him down, however, he was instantly taken down as Naruto said, chakra destabilizer. The man could not even move a muscle as Naruto dragged him out to the back and used his own sword to behead him. He then proceeded to throw the body in the dumpster in a large black bag. He was the one that handled the trash, so there wasn't anything to worry about being discovered. Kyohi was actually Naruto Uzumaki. He had run away from home. He was plotting on leaving Konoha, but he could not. The security at the gates had tightened. He was starting to panic at how he was found out, because he was being extremely careful, as he did not want to go back home ever. And there was a reason for that. Naruto was deadly terrified of women, as that was involved with said reason. As we skip to his home, Kushina Uzumaki was not his biological mother. Mikoto Uchiha was, as Kushina could not have a child because of the Kyuubi. So Mikoto offered to carry the child for her, with Minato being the father. But the moment Naruto was born, Kushina was obsessed. She loved him so much. She was obsessive. She was the one that went outside and hired these ninjas, despite the fact that Minato was against this. Closer and closer they were getting to find her son, as she placed trackers on them. She was going to send the other searching party, along with Kakashi Hatake, someone that would buy enough time for her to find out where Naruto was. But she knew that Kakashi would end up dying, but it would serve a cause to getting back her son. She knew how strong Naruto was. She trained him herself, and she knew that he was still somewhere within the village. However, they could not find him. The village was a very large place, but it was only a matter of time now. Yes, it was. Skipping back to Naruto, something traumatic had happened to him that forced him to flee. The matron there told him to take some time off, a paid leave, as Naruto was glad to hear that, because he barely had time to work on his AI. Artificial intelligence, where Naruto was building something to help him grow stronger. Minato had a test run on him when he was younger, and he was a certifiable genius. His knowledge was always growing, so much so that he was even smarter than the AI that was always growing and updating as well. Naruto was working on some gloves that would help him cancel out the effects of someone older than him, strength-wise, and boots as well. Once he got those done, he would be able to leave this village. His neighbor was a former member of the Yakuza. She was checking on him. She sounded rather concerned about him for some reason. However, Naruto did not trust her in the slightest. He barely trusts anyone, and his phobia acted up whenever she was around. He made his way into his apartment as he continued to work despite of how tired he was. He wanted to put a great distance between him and this village. It would be better if he lived on some remote island where he was by himself. Yes, something truly traumatic happened to make him be this way. Despite his tiredness, he was still working on his boots and his gloves. His mind, his knowledge that he used to create the AI and his other gadgets were going to help him cancel the field between him and any other ninja. So yeah guys, so basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the play, check it out for yourself. Don't forget to go ahead and comment over the other channels if you want or want it to be done. So without further ado or wasting more time, let's begin this now guys. He was exhausted as he yawned for what seemed to be the 100th time now. However, he was not finished yet. Bring out nature transformation schematics. Number 5 to 16, Naruto said, as they popped up on the hologram. This was his plans for how he would be able to use elemental attacks with little to no chakra. As he swiped them around, sipping from his mug of coffee from time to time to keep himself energized and focused on what he was doing. Firstly was wind. It was sucked in from 5 small separate tubes on the gloves, on the back of each finger. It depended on how much power he wanted to use. He could expel it from his fingertips or his palm. As for fire, it passed through an extremely hot source inside the gloves and the boots. Electricity was a simple AI conduct that generated the live wire inside of the gloves. Looking at it now, it was not simple at all. Earth and water were the hardest, considering that it made the gloves a bit more heavier, something that Naruto was trying to reduce as much as possible. However, the greatest one was the manipulation of sound waves that he used to create his chakra destabilizer. Yes, it was sound waves. You see, all humans, some special animals, have chakra, whether it be large or small, whether it be a shinobi or a civilian. Everyone had chakra, but the subject was splitting it into various affinities and suppressing and controlling them. Back then, when he had been toying around with his goggles, watching ninjas from his bedroom balcony, he thought about how he could close the gap between his young, inexperienced self and well-experienced older fighters. He had found a book on chakra that chakra reacted to sound waves sounds that only dogs could hear. However, the research was abandoned. People weren't interested in the subject. It was abandoned after a time, so there was not much information on it. Not to mention the amount of work that they would have to put in to test this theory just even once. Naruto could not see sound waves, despite having the AI goggles on. However, he could see chakra affinities and chakra capacities, each one with a different settings on his goggles, but he could also combine them together. He then combined them on that day. He inverted the image and added infrared vision, combining all of them together. He had seen it on one of his guards. Thin, small lines coming out of his body in fluctuating patterns. They were no longer than 3 inches though. As Naruto decided to dive deeper and try to understand the theory behind them. When the man was sleeping on the job, the wavy lines were about a foot long. He could not touch them, and normal eyes could not see them, but he was sure that he was looking at chakra in a way that no one has ever seen it before. He wanted more in-depth details, so he had snuck out of the mansion and went to a training ground where a genin team was sparring against one another. The wavy lines were moving horrendous, and they were reacting in sync to the kind of jutsus that the individuals were throwing. That is when Naruto realized if he could see chakra like this, the theory about sound waves, they were correct. So he constructed a very high-pitched whistle as he wanted to see if it would work on his guards. That day was not a good day for any ninja that was near him. They would feel an immense amount of fatigue after a blast of air hit them, and they were scolded more than once for slacking off on the job. He tried it out on 2 sparring tunings, and he was able to completely shut down their chakra, rendering the both of them immobilized. However, the problem was this overloaded AI and made it more slower. So he came up with a solution. He focused chakra signatures into one of his eye, the right eye to be quite exact, and the image of a hexagon appear on the goggles. This cut down the effort that AI used by half, so the speeding process would not go down so much. And that is how he created his chakra destabilizer. He had tested it on everything chakra related. The destabilizer could break down and kill sealing art, cancel jutsu, knockout genins, and some tunings as well. Paralyze people with jonin level of strength and stronger. Animal summons as well. If he could just get his hands on some better tools, he would be able to create a decent weapon with it and upgrade his current tools. However, with the situation with him right now, that is not possible within this village. But each person had a different pitch that would immobilize them. It was AI's job to quickly in tune to that pitch and destabilize their energy. As Naruto started to apply the things that he had to his gloves, making sure that he would not mess with the circuitry that was there already. AI, he said. Boss, she responded. Remind me to update you at noon, he said. Sure, boss, AI said. A popping sound could be heard from his gloves as Naruto frowned. Reserve battery has been destroyed, AI said. Yeah, I know, said Naruto. Half a year work just went up in smoke. At least it wasn't burning the building down. As he waved away the smoke, as he asked, does the finger still work? Little finger is not responding. Internal wires has melted. Of course they have, said Naruto. I'll deal with it later. Turn off all powers to the gloves, including the main power source, he said. Done. Alright, let's try this again. As he started to tap and twinkle with the gloves, with a screwdriver. His supercomputer was watching, staring at its master, taking mental notes. Even the computer wouldn't have figured out the chakra setting or the destabilizer. The computer regarded its creator highly, and this was justified by the level of intelligence that Naruto showed it on a daily basis. However, one of his biggest flaws was he thought too little of himself. What were you able to find on those trackers, he said. Where did I mess up, he asked. I have been able to isolate 3 incidents that you made your presence known. Yes, said Naruto, as he messed with his gloves. Last year, when you were training with Wind Release, you opened up a large gash on your palm. You placed your hand on a tree, and some blood had dropped down to the ground. That night you had to go to the pharmacy, and the security cameras caught you purchasing a row of bandages and some painkillers. Erase that video, said Naruto. Already done, sir, but that was not the second incident. As Naruto rubbed his nose, in exhaustion, that day he was in pain, and his priority had been not to bleed out and die on the street, so he did not take much consideration for his surroundings. The blood that he left on the tree and on the grass, they could be traced. As AI continued, the transformation that you wore was unstable, and you left some chakra footprints on the ground at the back way alley near to the clinic. Chakra never really left the environment. It thinned out with time and was left in a state where only the best of best sensors could perceive it. But that was it. It never really and truly just disappeared forever. And Naruto was still wearing the transformation when he left the pharmacy, so his chakra footprint was there. It made him remember that he had to add a function to his destabilizer. When it was used, it completely erased all presence of him, including chakra-wise. Normally though, Konoha should have found this. They have 3 tracking clans in their midst. However, they did not. Because they believe, just because he was raised in a good part of the village with good food and good clothes, that he would stay within the good part of the village, that he could not cut it within the bad part. That is what they believe. Most of their searches were in the upper district. They completely forgot about the red light district, it seems. It was the fact that they judged him on his upbringing that has kept him hidden away from all of them for the past 4 years. He could not do anything about the footprint for now, so he told AI to keep on going. What's the last incident, he asked. The third incident is Kyohi, unregistered in Konoha, citizen or migration register. There are dozens of people that aren't registered. You know, kids that are born on the street, some families in civilian council, because they don't want to pay the registration fee or whatever. But sir, you are the only person in your age group that has red eyes. Oh yeah, said Naruto. He had been born with dark red and sometimes bright red. They change depending on his emotional state. Snavi said that this was because of Mikoto being his biological mother. She was a uchiha, and the clan genes had passed to him in that way, or something like that. In the beginning, he did not have money to buy stylish contacts, but now they were too thin to fully block out the brightness of the redness of his eyes. Just like if a uchiha were to purchase contacts and put them on while activating his Sharingan, the contacts would not work. He asked for thicker ones, however, those made him almost blind. So eventually he simply dropped the contact lens idea. In the night he did not really stand out, but he was still a child with bright, very bright red eyes. And red eyes were a very noticeable feature. The upside to having these eyes were, illusions did not work on him. He couldn't fully explain it. It was like having eternally activated Sharingans, Genjutsus. They did not work on him. Speaking of eyes, his started to close. Everything was becoming blurry. Working anymore would just cause more problems, so he decided to get some sleep. As he dropped the screwdriver and crawled over towards the couch. Meanwhile, that was going on. Miles. 5 miles to be exact outside of the Hidden Leaf, within a very special forest. Kushina had been leaping from tree branch to tree branch for about a few hours now, making her way, knowing where her target would be coming from. The high S-rank Kunoichi was wearing a dark, red short sleeve, along with black shorts, with a dark red tights coming down, the orange heel, shinobi sandals. Her right arm was covered in bandages from her fingertips and disappearing up her shirt sleeve, and she was wearing a jonin jacket over her torso. Her red hair was tied up in a ponytail. Her dual katana, a weapon that was specially created for her from her homeland before she was shipped to Konoha. She wasn't allowed to use it until she was fully graduated from the academy. The handle was crimson red, and the blade itself was pitch black, made out of cursed metal, obsidian. On both sides of the handle were 9 white whirlpools, interlocking. It was securely strapped to her back. It could only be wielded by her. Yes, they were immensely special. Her bright purple eyes were focused as she traversed throughout the forest. Her hyper senses informed her that her target was coming her way from the location of the hidden rain. As the person turned off and she followed, she landed down next to a running river and flowing grass all over the place. As she watched the man, her expression, you could not tell. I know you're there. You can come out now, he said, as he turned his gaze, with a smirk on his face, as he saw those shining purple eyes looking out from the foliage. It seems like she erased herself because she reappeared down below within a fraction of a second. Her purple eyes looked at him for a long few seconds, and he was prepared to draw his own blade in retaliation if the other S-rank decided to attack him. He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. This man was Kisame, a very powerful man. Kushina was still in the foliage as she did not fully emerge. As Kushina was standing there, Kisame spoke. Are you just here to stare at me? He asked. He wasn't sure who exactly she was. However, the chilling coldness in her eyes gave him goosebumps as he applauded the person for how well they suppressed their chakra. They were good. As Kushina took 2 steps forward, her hand resting on her hip as she matched the swordsman grin with her own wide grin. Hello, she said. Kisame knew exactly who she was, and he had half a mind to just turn away and run. Yes, he had pride, a lot of it. However, he knew when he was outmatched. His right hand reached up and gripped the handle of his blade, barely keeping it contained from not ripping out of the bandages that kept it confined. What do you want? He said. He had faced off against this woman once, when they were younger, and he was more brash back then. In his opinion, this woman was batshit crazy, and it was a blessing that he was able to survive. She sauntered towards him. I have a job for you. That's close enough, he said, as he held Samehata within his hand. Kushina proceeded to giggle. Oh, come on, Kisame. It's been years. Are you still mad at me? She asked. Back then, he had ambushed her for her Kumo bounty, when her and her teammates were leaving Waterfall Village after a completed mission. The condition that Kushina had put him in made him wonder how did he leave that place alive. He made it a point to never bump into her again. Back then she was a fresh jonin, and she almost murdered him with her wild, animalistic style of fighting. And now, he knew that she was a lot stronger than back then. There was no doubt about it. I take that as a yes, she said, as she saw the look on his face, and he took a step back as well. Tell me what you want and be on your way, he grunted out. I want you to find someone for me, she said, her smile reducing into a friendly one, and bring him back to me, alive. I'm not a tracker, Kisame snapped at her. He made to turn his back and walk, but he decided to keep his attention solely on her for the time being. He did not claim to have all of his sanity intact. Not when you were a part of the organization known as the Akatsuki, and Kisame had dealt with some freaks, such as Hidan. However, the Jashness did not scare him in the slightest. While Hidan might be clinically insane, Kushina was a different type of crazy. And Kisame wanted nothing to do with the other S rank. Unlike when he first encountered her, he just wanted to get a far distance away from her at the moment. However, she was having none of it. The thing on your back, it can sense people's chakra, she said. Her smile still there. I said, I am not a tracker. However, upon him saying that, her purple eyes became darker. Yes, the shade went dark. Don't raise your voice at me, Kisame. Her tone was light yet. Kisame felt a chill went down his spine. Look, he said as sweat started to break out on his forehead. I don't want any trouble. How about this, she said as she took 3 steps forward. His feet felt like they were stuck in cement, unable to move from where he was, as she was now right there. You do as I say, as she dragged her slender pointer finger across his cheek. Or else, I will kill you, she said. He grit his teeth as he wrenched his feet out of the earth, metaphorically, as he stepped away a few feet. Crazy bitch, he said. A vein throbbed right on her forehead. However she spoke, this person is located within Konoha. You will find this person, incapacitate him, without harming him, or shredding off any of his limbs. You will work with a friend of mine, Takashi Hatake, and when you succeed, I'll pay you, and you can leave with your life intact. Do we understand each other? She asked him. Kisame grunted, hatefully, as he reluctantly nodded. Awesome, she said, as she tossed him a shirt that Naruto once wore. Find him, she said, as she started to enter back the foliage. Her words echoed through the clearing. You have 1 week. Damn it. Kisame cursed. Time skip. Not even in his dreams was he safe away from her. He was 7 once again, and she was on top of him. She whispered in his ear. That made him feel chills run down himself. Mommy love you, Naruto. She was lying on his right. He was curled away from her, weakly, pushing her away, as her hand was resting on his abdomen. As he tried to roll off, however, she held him in place. Her right hand ghosted over his underwear. Don't you know that mommy love you? He could not move. He cried, but he could not move. He felt weak. He didn't want this. None of it. Her breath was coming out heavy and foggy inside of the room. He was weak. He was scared. He was terrified. Every time she looked at him, every time she touched him, he just could not move. He prayed and begged her to stop. Every time she did this, to leave him alone. She never listened to his words. She placed a hand over his mouth. Naruto jumped up as he ended up rolling right off the couch and crashing on the floor as he heard a metal sound scraping against the door. His heart was beating fast. Cold sweat was racking his frame. He hated to wake up like this. As he took a moment to recollect himself, not even in his dreams could he feel safe. Not even the quiet night of slumber brought him peace. His gaze fell towards the door as he heard whispers and metal grinding against the door. He was trying to shake off the nightmare. His heart was beating so fast. Fear still racked his soul, trying to tear it to pieces of the terrible memories flashing through his mind of what he went through. As he took several deep breaths until he heard AI pulling him back to reality with its words. It's 11:05, boss. As Naruto panted some more before he pulled himself up. What is it? Said Naruto to his computer to find out what was the noises from outside the door. 5 armed men are trying to forcefully enter the apartment, sir. Of course they are, said Naruto, knowing that it was another robbery attempt. Armed how? He asks. Kitchen knife, tontos, kunais. 3 of them are carrying backpacks. All 5 of them are wearing ski masks, sir. Naruto walked over as he picked up the katana and pulled it out of its sheath. As he placed his ear against the door, Who robs a house 11 in the morning? His Yakuza neighbor had left for her job at 8. Those who did not leave the apartment at morning were either still knocked out from a night of drugs and booze or unemployed. They saw the boy who wore good clean clothes as a big target that they could rob from, because most of the apartment was not even worth the time to rob from. For at least a month he had at least 10 robbers, which was small compared to a few others. They just did not learn. If they really wanted to do something, they should have just break down the door, instead of trying to use stealth by picking his lock. He could hear the cursing outside as AI mechanism would not allow them to do so. As Naruto placed his ear against the door, he then placed a katana against it as he listened. Before he shoved it right through, the katana burst through the shoulder of the man that was trying to pick the lock. The others only had time to blink as the katana was pulled back before it was shoved out once again. This time it sliced through the neck of the same man. What the hell? As Naruto listened as they turned tail and ran, leaving behind the one that was choking on his own blood. Blood pooled around him as he gripped his throat, as he gurgled for air, trying as best as he could to close the wound but failing immensely. As Naruto opened the door and looked down towards the man before he plunged the sword clean through his head, that was a mercy in his eyes. As a few came outside, shock-written looks all over their faces as he saw the green-haired boy standing over an adult man, his katana buried in his skull. His gaze then flickered up towards them, and they saw his eyes, which was more red than before, and his pupil had grown smaller. The message was clear to all of them. If the police were called, he was going to murder every single one of them. All of them proceeded to close their doors as they gave him his privacy to do what he wanted. Naruto looked down toward his victim. He was in a black turtleneck, a sweater, black pants. He looked well funded. So that begged the question, why weren't they trying to use better technology to rob him? Hell, why were they trying to rob him in the first place? He couldn't look like he had much, right? As Naruto rumbled through the man's pocket and retrieved a few loose change, a few crumble as he stuffed it in his pocket. After further inspection, he found a wallet in the man's back pocket. As he stood up, leaving the katana blade where it was, he opened the wallet looking for identification, but the man had none. The only thing he found was a picture that the man had taken with his daughter and son. Naruto threw it away without a second thought. And then there was a handwritten letter from his parents. From what he gathered from the letter, the man's name was Jaizaru. He was a native of Fire Country, and his parents stayed in Grass Country. As Naruto was still feeling the sleep tickling at the corner of his eye, he had woke up in a bad mood and messily. He could have executed this kill, this warning kill, a lot better. However, because of the state that he was in, and with the robbery thing, he did not do it so well. As he rubbed his eyes to get the last remnants of sleep out of them, he read the letter once, then twice, then a third time, when he realized that codes were imprinted in the letter. It was subtle, but it was there. He briefly wondered how they were able to read it, these geniuses who were trying to pick his lock. But he skipped over that, and he read what he could find. A boy with a red eye. Find him. Bring him to the sound. Do not make noise. Do not fail. That is what he got out of it. As Naruto took the man's backpack off as he spoke. Find the other 4 and keep tabs on them. Yes, sir. AI responded, using Konoha security cameras to keep an eye on the other 4 that was able to escape with their life intact. Naruto had wanted to scare any future robbers with his act. However, it seems leaving the other 4 was a mistake, and his secret was going to be in jeopardy because this wasn't a random attack. When he opened the bag, he found a change of clothes, some food, water bottles, and a single scroll inside. It seems like they were planning on running off with him the moment they got their hands on him, as he used a scroll to seal away the body, using the clothing to mop up all the blood before sealing that away as well. Now there was only a red mark on the ground. That was good enough for him as he slung the backpack over his shoulder. He gazed around before stepping inside and closing his door. The people that Orochimaru had hired were mediocre at best, and they were not real sound shinobis. However, the Sannin underestimated Naruto, as he removed the letter and placed it on the center of the table, examined that for Orochimaru fingerprints. He had collected the Sannin prints around 2 years ago, an expedition out in the forest, when he was trying to find any hole within Konoha defense that he could capitalize on to leave the village. He did not find any holes, but he did find a run-down laboratory. AI had used a scanning device from his goggles and scanned the entire place. A few books and lab coats. The Sage Sannin name was on them. He was also able to get fingerprints, and any book that he found was scanned immediately into AI memory bank. He then burned the physical books, as the digital copies were set away for him. Done. And, said Naruto, Orochimaru of the Sannin fingerprints has been confirmed to be an elector boss. I only wanted to know. Sir, AI said, confirm whether or not the people Orochimaru sent don't have any digital ties with him. AI took photos of all 4 of them, comparing them with all the members that Konoha had in their police database and the entire country's security footage. 2 of them has history in a police detention for assault and armed robbery. 1 of them is a half-brother to the other. The half-brother picture was connected to one of the robbers that has been in jail. That half-brother now lives on the 4th floor, which explained why they knew where he lived. And they have 2 more families that are living deep in death within the Fire Country. How did they get to Konoha? I do not know, but a large sum of money was transferred in their account from an account in the country, and the same day it was withdrawn as well. So Orochimaru paid off their debt and gave them this job. As Naruto released a breath. That means they are not directly connected to the snake. Well, that's good. He did not care who their families were, or if they had any. He could not allow them to leave Konoha. Yes, this was against his rule of not being seen too much in daylight. However, he couldn't afford for them to spill any information. AI. Yes, sir? Where are they? Said Naruto. Time skip. The 4. Now unfortunate robbers never knew any such terror than what they were currently experiencing at the very moment. They were running headway towards the gate of the red light district, making sure they were in full view of all the people. The people saw the full-grown men in robbery gear sprinting down the street as fast as their legs could carry them. Their ski masks made it clear that they were coming from a robbery. But given the fact that they were sprinting at high speeds, it was clear that the robbery had probably failed. Most likely failed. They had limited ninja training. The half-brother, he had dropped out of the academy after 1 year. And the other 3, well, they were former Genins. The person that they tried to kidnap, though, was much smarter than they thought. Smart enough to kill one of them without even leaving his home. They had been stealing and kidnapping for years now, and they knew the warning signs when a job was just a bit too much for them. Something with their expertise that they could not handle. And this job was too much for them. One of them screamed out. From the corner of his eye he saw the red-eye boy holding a blade. However, he was gone when he looked once again. Why the hell did you accept this job, Karu? The half-brother who saw the boy yelled out, too frightened to even lower his tone. How the hell should I know that this kid could kill? The man replied, you live in the goddamn same apartment, you goddamn idiots. The other brother said. He was the ex-convict, as he ran straight into a solid wall. He pushed off the wall with wide, solid eyes, noticing that the three others had face planted in the wall. Wait, how, how the hell did we get here? As they looked around, in complete confusion, he couldn't understand what was going on. They were standing in an alley, and across from them was the same apartment building that they just tried to break into. What the hell? They couldn't understand what was going on. Oh shit. The man could not finish what he was saying as Naruto phased right behind him and drive his blade through his back. It tore through his chest, through his heart. Naruto brought the blade up as he sliced. The head fell as Naruto kicked it in the face of one of them that tried to run off. He then turned and threw the blade. It burst through the man's neck and through the severed head, as Naruto was using a misdirect genjutsu. A simple one, making them think that they were going their way, but they were going where he wanted them to go. The body had fell on the other convict as he was crying. Please, he shouted. The other one with a katana through his neck. He went pale. I have information. His gaze focused behind Naruto to see. The other one was taken down. He did not even know when that had happened. I'm listening, said Naruto. We were sent by Orochimaru. I know. Next, said Naruto. He wanted to use you as a hostage. So your father would step down as the Hokage and kill himself. I could have reached that conclusion on my own. You're not telling me anything new. Try once more, said Naruto. He was going to pawn you off to Shimura Danzo when he was done with you. At that, Naruto raised an eyebrow. No, that is something new. Tell me, how do you know this? The person that bring the letter to me. He was going to take his backpack off to show Naruto the letter, but Naruto raised his hand, stopping him. I've already seen it. So, he told me that Orochimaru wanted to sell you. Wait, said Naruto in disbelief. You're telling me that the messenger pretty much laid out the entire plan to you? Either Orochimaru was arrogant enough to tell his underlings his plan, or this man was lying to him. However, Naruto would look into it. Naruto's fist snapped forward and made contact with the man's skull. A cracking sound could be heard. The man's eyes rolled back as he collapsed. He sealed the bodies away in the scroll before he set it ablaze. He took their backpacks as he took the sealing scrolls. Just because he was bad at Fuinjutsu didn't mean that it wasn't useful. He made sure to check that no one was around as he made his way back towards his apartment building. Time skip. The door locked shut as AI locked it behind its crater. As Naruto released a breath, he placed a katana next to the door. Sir, are you okay? AI asked, and Naruto was pleased because he did not input anything for AI. Well, to be concerned about Naruto's health. However, AI was continuously evolving, and it believed that its master was affected by the realization that not only his mother was coming after him, but Orochimaru of the Sannin, and to a lesser extent, Danzo as well. I'm fine, AI. Thank you, said Naruto, as he narrowed his gaze. But there has been a change of plans. How so, sir? Scrap number 15 and leave. Only win manipulation. He referring to the schematics that he pulled up a moment ago, earlier, which contained fire, water, earth, and lightning. He wanted those removed and only to leave win. A window of opportunity was open for him to leave this village, and he was going to take advantage of it. The letter was hand-delivered to the five in this week earlier, so that meant the one that delivered it was possibly still in Konoha and aware of the kidnapping going on. And they were aware that the kidnappers moved out this morning to do their job. The messenger will find out that they were dead. People unknowingly heard the screams of the dying, and the police will do their investigation and come across the scene. But that would go nowhere. 2 days or so later, Orochimaru would send more people to come after him, and Naruto was going to kill every single one of them until some strong, smart, calculated people come for him. People that could actually smuggle him out of the village without the authorities catching on to what was going on. That was what he was looking for. He laid all of that out to AI, and at that moment AI evolved. It's matter of speaking once again. AI could not disobey its master, but it strongly advised against that. Boss, that is a real bad idea, AI said. Time skip. 6 days later. Smoke was coming from Naruto's fists. The man was thrown back into the wall as his chest pulsed out with blood as he collapsed down to his knees. Naruto stepped aside, allowing the man to collapse on his face. As he shook his head, it was 9 in the night. He was currently in training ground 41, a training ground that was densely packed with trees and shrubbery all over. So the chances of him being heard was slim. As he turned towards the other dead victim, as he pulled out the katana from the sound ninja lower back, he led them right here, and they followed like sheep. With his eternal Sharingan, being able to see better in the darkness of the night, as they went with him inside of the dark forest to accomplish their mission. Well, that is what they thought. This was the 5th team that was sent, and once again, they failed his test. Naruto exhaled in a disappointed breath as he sheathed the blade. He had to ask the matron for permission to leave, and this really was not worth the effort. The 5th team, that was not what he wanted. Failure after failure. No one that could probably get him through without being caught and ruining everything. Naruto spun around as he drew the blade and slashed, knocking away the long blade that was thrown right towards him. He looked down towards the weapon. It was stabbed in the ground and oozing with a strange white liquid. As he tried to remember where he's seen something like that before, a laughter echoed through the training ground, followed by a little hiss inside laughter. You are certainly one curious child, are you? As Naruto spun around, finding the source of said voice, not fast enough as he blocked the weapon that came his way, clashing against it as he saw a white forearm. The newcomer hand shot out, but Naruto leaned back and fell on his back. He then rolled and flipped away as he dropped in a kinjutsu rigid stance as the person examined him. Sloppy, 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 they said. The voice was feminine. However, Naruto knew exactly who it was. He was rather surprised. Orochimaru? He spoke under his breath. But aren't you? As the woman in front of him smiled, licking her lips. One of my many faces, she said. He had 3 females sent after him and they weren't a threat. Now the Sannin came as a female. The killer intent that leak off the Sannin made his body tremble. She cackled at his fear. She seemed to be enjoying it quite a lot. You don't seem that bad. Not as bad as Kabuto has been telling me. A hand clamped down on his shoulder as Naruto turned his hand and crushed the person's nose in instinct. He then flipped the person over his shoulder and stepped back. The person that he just flung away was a white-haired individual with glasses. As he was slowly getting to his feet, his hand was glowing green over his nose that was broken. As he was shaking the cobwebs out of his head. Oh, I stand corrected, the female Orochimaru said, stepping over Naruto's weapon that he dropped in the process. As Naruto skipped back twice, 6 arms tried to grab him as he spun and leaped away. He then ducked under another grab as he swinged his fist forward. However, the large person was able to block his blow as Naruto flipped away. The Sound 4 and Kimimaro. He was surrounded. AI was not there since he had the computer stay back, just in case he found the right set of kidnappers. And he found them, and he was terrified. He was surrounded from all sides. The Sannin slippered up towards him. That is when she realized Naruto's reaction as Naruto leaped away. Don't you dare touch me. His hands were trembling, since revealing himself to be a woman. Naruto's body had been in a state of tremble and fear. Tears start to run down his eyes from Orochimaru making the motion of trying to grab him. It was not the Sanin that he seemed to be afraid of. However, the gender that he chose to take, coming after him, adding that with a killer intent, Naruto trembled and collapsed down to his knees, shaking violently as she slowly started to walk towards him. One step after another, his body started to go into shock. The bloodlust mixed with the fear. The boy proceeded to collapse. Orochimaru stepped forward and caught him. She snatched his body into a large chest. The spider boy came over and lifted up. As they move off toward the sound, none of them noticed that Naruto blade. It was lighting up. Yes, it was lighting up before. It started to move. At Naruto's apartment, dark purple lights started to glow on his goggles. As the engine pulsed, AI became activated. AI activated itself. Disapproval of how its master was taken down. It actually seems angry. AI is fully operational. The window opened up as the black duffel bag from Naruto's room shot out into the night sky. Hang on, boss. They're coming. As 4 objects flew out of said bag and flew through the sky. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want to see next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below and turn on that bell notification stay posted. Remember, share all of your friends in your social media platform. And don't forget to go ahead and check out the other channels. I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. So without further ado or wasting no more time, what do you say we jump right into this? Begin now, guys.